Heidi-ho, Algebra 2, 8.1, Day 2, Multiplying and Dividing Rational Expressions. Okay, so this time we're not going to have a ton of big, long things to factor out. Okay, there's going to be little chunks here that we're going to have to put together and simplify. Okay. There's about 2 or 3 different strategies here that we can employ. Okay, the first one, which works out okay for this one, but not necessarily for the rest of them, is going to be just to multiply it straight through. Okay, just to multiply it straight through. And we'll get 6 times 15 for a 90. C times C is C squared. Still have a D squared on the top. 5 times 8, we got 40. Even though it's DA, I'm going to go AD in alphabetical order. Okay? Normally that won't work out so nice because you'll get really big numbers and it's going to be really hard to reduce. This time it does work out nice because 90 over 40, you can divide those by 10. And it's just 9 over 4. C squared and A, there's really nothing there. D squared over D. So there's 2 D's up top, 1 D on the bottom, 2 minus 1. We're just going to finish with 1 on the top. 9 C squared D over 4A. Okay? So that's like the easiest, most straightforward way to do it. It works out well for that one. But if these numbers get any bigger, then these numbers get a little scary. Okay? Another way to do it is, this is the way that I usually do them. Okay, I'll try to reduce and cancel right off the main problem. Okay, here's what I mean by that. So this is multiplication. Everything up here is on the top. Everything down there is down below. And then, so I'm just going to cancel as I go here. It's like I got a 15 on the top, a 5 on the bottom. 15 and 5, I can divide them both by 5. So this is going to be a 3, and this is now a 1. Let's see, 6 and 8, I can divide both of those by 2. So now that's going to be a 3, and that's going to be a 4. Alright, and if you get the numbers down, then the rest of your problem gets a lot easier. 3 times 3 across the top is 9. C squared, D squared. C times C is C squared, D squared there. Bottom, 1 times 4 is 4. DA or AD. D squared over D. We'll drop that down to D to the first, and this one's gone. Okay? So that's the same thing. And the longer way, which the book seems to enjoy, let's get our original problem again. 6C over 15D, 5D times 15CD squared over 8A. Alright, what the book's going to do is they're going to factor out everything. So they're going to have a 2 times a 3. And then the 15 is a 3 times a 5. C, D squared is D. Alright. Across the bottom, we got a 5. And then an 8 is going to be 2 times 2 times 2. It's 2 times 4. Well, then that 4 breaks apart to 2 times 2. And then an A and a D. Alright? So it's going to be really easy to cancel stuff out here, but it's also kind of a tough thing to break all these down. So we'll have this 2 can cancel out this 2. This 5 can cancel out this 5. What else we got here? One of the D's can cancel out there. So now on the top I have 3 times 3 is 9. C times C is C squared, and then with a D. Across the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4 with an A. Alright, so there's 3 different ways that we got the same answer. Okay? And I'll leave it up to you as to which one you do. Okay, this one up here where you just multiply straight across and then try to reduce, that's probably the easiest as far as strategy-wise, but it's also the hardest at the end to try to reduce those numbers. This one is the easiest to reduce at the end, but it's also the hardest up front to kind of split everything apart. Okay, so I kind of compromise and I do this one in the middle where you just do the ones that you can recognize right away. If you miss one or two things when you're trying to cancel out there and reduce, then this answer over here will usually, it'll be obvious. You would have had like, oh, 18 over 8. Well, I know I can divide both those by 2. Piece of cake. Alright, that's something you would have seen there. Okay. Alright, let's slide on down to this one. 18 xy to the third over 7a squared b squared divided by 12x squared y over 35a squared b. So instead of dividing, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to have 18xy to the third, 7a squared b squared, change it to multiplication, and flip the second one. 35a squared b over 12x squared y. Okay? Whatever way you think is going to work best for you, let's go ahead and give you a little bit of a head start here. Let's go ahead and hit pause on the video for a second and work on that for a minute or two, and then we'll come back and see how you did. Alright, welcome back. Okay, so we got 3 strategies from the first problem here on what to do. Okay, I think if you multiply these straight across, 18 times 35, that's going to be a pretty big number to try to reduce later on. Okay, but on the other hand, I don't like doing this. This drives me nuts. I can do it, but I don't like to. So I try to do the compromise one in the middle. Alright, so if I'm looking at this, the first thing that jumps at me is 35 and 7. I know I can divide both of these by 7. 35 divided by 7 is 5. And 7 divided by 7 is 1. What about my 18 and 12? I can divide those both by 6. So now that's going to be a 3. And that's going to be a 2. Okay, the numbers are the toughest part. The numbers are the toughest part to reduce. So now going across the top, I got 3 times 5, that's 15. No common letters here, so I just get to write them down. A squared b x y to the third over 1 times 2 is 2. A squared b squared x squared y. Okay, and we've done these before. I can't reduce the 15 over 2. A squared over a squared cancels out. Okay, b over b squared. That means there's 2 on the bottom, 1 on top. One of them would cancel out, and we'd be left with 1 on the bottom. Same thing with the x over x squared. And then the y to the third, there's 3 of them on the top, 1 of them on the bottom. Okay? So that'd be 3 minus 1, that'd be y to the second, and the biggest one was on the top. So we got 15, 2 on the bottom. Okay, my b's, the bigger one is on the bottom. 2 minus b to the first, 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's b to the first on the bottom, because that's what the bigger one was. Again, we have x squared and x to the first. Bigger one's on the bottom. Subtract your exponents. 2 minus 1 is 1. X to the first on the bottom. This time, y to the third is the bigger one. It's on the top. 3 minus y to the first. 3 minus 1 is 2. It goes on the top because that's what the bigger one was. Okay. Una mas. One more for you. It's another division one. Okay, now this is just another way of writing this. It's not all that different. Okay, 16m squared, 16m t squared over 21 a to the fourth b to the third divided by 24 m to the third, 7a squared b squared. Fraction divided by a fraction. We're going to change this to multiplication and multiply by the reciprocal. Alright, so we got 21 m to the third. So, move this up to the top, change it to multiplication, I flipped them upside down. Okay? Alright, so we're going to hit pause there for just a couple seconds. Give you a minute or two head start and we'll see how you did. Alright, let's have you hit pause right there. And welcome back. Let's see how we did. Okay, again, my strategy here, I'm going to look for things I can divide. So like the 7 and the 21 are pretty obvious to me. I can divide these both by 7. That would make this a 1, and that would make this a 3. Okay, my 16 and 24. Maybe it's a 4. Maybe it's a 2. The biggest one that goes into both is 8. So if I divide both of these by 8, this is a 2, and this is a 3. So the numbers, like I said, the numbers are the toughest part. We can do the letters much easier. 2 times 1 on the top is 2. 3 times 3 on the bottom is going to be a 9. What do we got for the letters? M, T squared, A squared, B squared. M, T squared, A squared, B squared. Across the bottom we have A to the fourth, B to the third, M to the third. A to the fourth, B to the third, M to the third. Okay, so for my final answer, 2, 9. Okay, look at my A's. A is bigger on the bottom. 4 on the bottom, 2 on the top. 4 minus 2 is going to be A squared on the bottom. Okay, what else do I have here? Let's go B's. I have B to the third on the bottom, B squared on top. Bottom is bigger. 3 minus 2 is going to be B to the first on the bottom, because that's where the bigger one was. M's are bigger on the bottom. Again, 3 minus 1 is going to be M squared on the bottom. And then our last thing here, we have T squared on the top. Nothing with it here to reduce it, so just T squared on the top. So we have 2T squared over 9A squared BM squared. Okay? So one of those 3 strategies is hopefully working for you. Alright, I'm telling you, this one's the dangerous one where you just multiply it straight across and then hope that you can reduce those numbers at the end. The numbers are the toughest thing to reduce. If you multiply the variables together and try to reduce those at the end, that's not too bad, because then we're just adding or subtracting. Okay? If you do this, I think that gets a little long, but if that's how you need to do it, that's how you need to do it. That's not my personal preference. I know my personal preference gets a little confusing for people because you're scribbling out and writing things on the side, and then that gets a little messy, and it's tough to read. So whichever strategy works best for you, all right? Let's see what we got. We are going to be on that same page we were yesterday. 8.1, we're on page 534. And we have 25 through 38. Alright, if you have any more questions, you can re-watch this, slow it down whenever you need. Okay? You can also read the book. Wow. I know some of us are allergic to textbooks, but we can read the book and look through those examples again and read their notes that they have. Alright? Or ask a friend or another teacher. Or me when I get back. Okay, we'll see you guys later. Say no to drugs.